Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture. I have with me Jessie Flower, who was on my other podcast about 4 years ago, the Pop Anime Comics Lounge. And so, how are you? Because it's been 4 years.
Hello. Yes, it's been a second. Some things have happened since 2016. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me back. Good to chat and check back in with everyone. Uh, Good to be here.
Well, you are part of an exclusive club now of returning guests, and there's only a handful of people who've actually been on twice in both of
Wow.
my shows. So, you're part of that club. So, you should feel
Hey,
proud.
yes, thank you.
Now, I know we only have about 30 minutes or so, and so I kind of want to start and go down a little bit of memory lane. And I think you know where I'm going with this. And you're known for your role as Toph from Avatar the Last Airbender. And we spoke about this before in depth, but I kind of want to walk through it a little bit again for those who are listening. How did that entire role come about? Because in many ways, Toph is a defining character for people of my generation, growing up watching Nickelodeon and cartoons, and now we're starting to kind of show our kids this stuff.
Yeah.
So, just curious
And
on
it
that one.
it definitely was, just a surprise in one sense. The creators knew that Toph was going to be a character, a main character, for a while, but the fact that she was a girl came about relatively close to when, we actually started recording. So I think it was a bit of a happy accident that, it was tossed into the ring. And then they were like, oh, yeah, wait, that makes sense. And Toph was always going to be blind. That She was going to be blind, and it's supposed to be just a man that was going to be a main character. Then the only thing that switched was like, hold on a second, we're going to make her a petite little thing. So that was, first of all, great that that happened, because then obviously it opened up auditions to young folk like me that were more female identifying and sounding, as opposed to a large hulking man. So yeah, it was kind of a surprise. I didn't really know that Toph was supposed to be a man until I booked it, and then kind of conversation started happening, and I was like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I think her personality stayed the exact same. They just changed the outer cover. Yeah, so it was a thrill.
And so, what was that process like, even auditioning for it? Because we have this show, it's done in very much an anime style, but it's American.
Yeah.
And you get called in, you go on an audition, and then what was that entire thing like of you reading for it and rehearsing it, and then finding out you got it, and then knowing that she's coming in book two, which is even more interesting because when book one hit, Avatar, the first few episodes, where I feel like, okay, this is interesting, and I had a feeling nobody knew where it was going. But then
Right.
towards the end of book one, which is season one, we know this show is bigger and it's out there. And then book two kind of hit off with a bang in many ways. And that's when your character came in.
So I voiced Meng in season one, which many are starting to discover. And so I think when they decided to audition for Toph, it started with other people that they had worked with before, or just like, oh, do you know somebody who might fit this description? And it kind of just grew out from there. I was in southern Indiana at the time visiting my grandparents, and I was like, I have to send in this audition. And at the time, we didn't have an iPhone where you could just sit in a closet and record it and then send an MP3. That was not a thing at the time. So we actually went to a sound studio, the only one, thankfully, within like, I don't know, hours of driving, was one 30 minutes away. So it was just like a music shop with like a sound like studio in the back. So we went and we're like, hey, we need to record an audition using a microphone, and we explained it over the phone. They're like, sure, 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 come in. So we went, and because I'd worked for Nickelodeon before, so we knew that like we needed to do this well. We weren't just going to send them some crappy attempt at home, like we're like, okay, we got to get this right. So they sent over the script. I was kind of toying with the lines a little bit, but I wasn't really, weighed down by like, oh, I'm really going to give this my all. I was 11, I think, 10, 11. So, I was like, oh, this character's cool. She's, a fighter. She's kind of, aggressive and sassy. I like it. And then got there. My grandma was like, "Who reads the other parts in the room?" And I was like, "Nobody. You just read your lines as the character, and then you just send that in." And she's like, "Well, what if I read for the Boulder?" And I was like, "Okay." So my grandmother read for the Boulder in the recording studio while I recorded Toph's lines, and we sent that as my audition. So it was hilarious, but apparently they enjoyed it. And I don't remember the timeline from when I sent that, but it was relatively quick because when they decided to make Toph a girl, they were like, "Okay, got to go to the drawing board. Like, we got to restructure a lot of this, just character development." So I think it was a little faster than maybe usual, but I heard back relatively quickly after I sent in that audition, and went into the studio for a callback, and it all happened pretty quickly. I just don't remember the exact timeline. But yeah, I don't know. It was nice to be back in studio again after doing Meng.
Well, I'm sure we all would love to find a copy of your audition tape. I'm sure that we would.
I would love that. I mean, they didn't. There wasn't. It's such a bummer because people didn't save as much as they do now. People don't have hard drives of their favorite MP3 auditions that they've sent in, or like reels weren't as much of a thing. Like, it just wasn't as easy to email an MP3 file to somebody and have it be good quality. So I'd have no idea where that is in the ether, but I also would love to listen to my first audition.
So even moving beyond that, and we're going to send an investigation team to go find this.
Yes, please.
All expenses, all out right now. Totally we're going to do it. But going beyond just auditioning for this character, now you come into this character, and the way I describe Toph is a blind, no fucks giving, tomboyish, straight up shooter who is pretty attractive and is just a badass.
Yeah.
And then I think that's a really good way how to describe Toph. So what was that like, really even finding her character? Because she has all these remarks and she's kind of a little bit of a cheeky girl and a smart ass to some degree, but likable. And so what was that like, finding her voice and her character and really bringing it out? Because Toph is one of those genuine characters in Avatar that you feel is just straight up. And what confirms that is when they're in the Fire Nation and they see that play. That entire episode confirms it.
I think one of the greatest things about Avatar is that the characters are so natural. They're very relatable. Even though it's an animated series, it feels very real. A lot of the characters have many flaws, as we all do, and many redeeming qualities. They have their good days, they have their off days. They have their loves and their dislikes. So I think when voicing her, and just all the characters, honestly, I feel like they wanted people who just fit the aesthetic. There wasn't too much of a show being put on in order to create the character, which is why I think a lot of us kind of sound like our character. I mean, I've aged since being 13 years old, but a lot of people can hear it, when I talk a little bit higher as if I were younger, and just I have a lot of attitude, like it gets closer to what I sounded like when I was that age. And so same with Jack DeSena and Dante, everyone kind of sounds like their character in real life. And I think they did that on purpose because they didn't want these to be caricatures of people. They wanted them to be actual characters. So a lot of it just came from, I have a lot of attitude. My mom can attest. And so I just kind of funneled that in. And in moments where she was a fighter or, I don't know, just had to toughen up a little bit, I would just kind of pull out my tomboy side. I was very much a tomboy. I like wearing shoes, ran around barefoot a lot in the grass, and liked, being in trees. And so I just kind of pulled from that kind of sporty side in those moments. So it was great because I just got to be naturally me and just tune into the tomboy side, the sassy side, the I'm a rebel today side. And so it was more fun just kind of building her out to be a full-fledged normal girl as opposed to really putting on any sort of character, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and even to jump off of that, and I kind of alluded to this before, Avatar has been around for 13 years up at this point, It was, I
Yeah.
think, 2, 3 weeks ago, trending on Twitter in relationship to Netflix.
Yep.
And I think that the fact that you sound genuine and all these characters are genuine and they're human, because I'm a big anime fan and we see that sometimes characters are too perfect. And so, what is this like? Being that this is 13 years old and it's trending on Twitter 3 weeks ago, and now it's more accessible probably than it's ever been.
Definitely.
And so, what is that like? Because that's almost cementing your legacy to some degree.
Cementing my legacy. I sound so grand when you phrase it like that. Um, no, but it is. It's first of all such strange timing. You know, things like happen at certain points for a reason. I feel like so much happened in between, kind of the rebirth of Avatar and when we recorded it. Because I feel like it, when it came out naturally on Nickelodeon, people watched it. That was its first, kind of rise to popularity. And then you couldn't really find it anywhere. You could get it if you did Amazon Prime, like Kids or Nick Kids or something for a while, but it wasn't, really promoted that much. And then Netflix is just so accessible because it seems like everybody and their dog has it. We're all stuck inside, kind of. That's changing now a little bit, but we were stuck inside. And it just feels like there's a whole new audience experiencing it for the first time. And it's kind of surreal, but amazing. And I feel like I was ready to kind of rewatch it again with everybody. I finally, I graduated from college a few years ago. I have a bit more of an idea of kind of who I am and what direction I'm going. And so it was just nice because I feel like I got to, I don't know, fall in love with it again with everybody else. And I have like the mental and emotional capacity to do so, which I don't really know. If this would have happened when I was in college, I'd probably be drowning in papers and like a thesis, and I probably would be kind of MIA. But it's nice because I feel like I get to join in with everybody. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I'm excited. I just feel like everything happens for a reason. So yeah, it's cool.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but you went to Yale,
I did.
so you're an elitist completely.
Yes, no. I someone thought I was smart enough to go there. It really was a blessing to go there, truly, but it was hard. I will not lie, and it was not just like an amazing, wonderful, blissful. Everyone's wearing like fancy dresses and shoes all the time. It's not
It's okay. It's okay. You're joining David Matrenga, who went there as well.
yes, yes.
So, but we're
And
gonna table that. We're gonna table that because I want to get back to Avatar really quickly.
yes, yes, yeah.
And so, even talking about this rebirth, and I can't help but make fun of you because you went to Yale, sort of. But anyway, I'm gonna table that again. But talking about the rebirth of Avatar and rewatching it and everybody being stuck inside, Toph as a character's legacy has been preserved extremely well. It's been preserved all throughout Avatar, and then in the graphic novels, and then even in Korra to some degree. And you didn't voice
Yeah.
her in Korra, but they well respected her in Korra, and they kept a lot of what I felt you brought to that character. So, what is that like to know that you really built the foundations or added to it and expanded this character that carried through in the other products that have, I guess, ensued after? I'm stumbling over words here, but
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah,
that's the question.
it was pretty, I don't know, interesting to see um, kind of multiple voice actresses kind of fill in her later years. And I think they did a very good job at maintaining kind of the integrity of what the character's arc would have been. I think there are a multitude of different ways that, Toph could have grown. But I think that what they chose for her is an accurate route. I think she stayed very true to herself. She stayed just as kind of rigid, basically like her way or the highway, because she's like, this is right. Too bad. It's like, that's what it is, for better or for worse. And so I think it was, I don't know, kind of cool just to have a character that you see eventually get older in age. You get to at least see her future in some way, even though I was not necessarily the voice, which makes sense because I am not in my 30s or 40s yet, or a grandmother age. So that makes sense that somebody else needed to come in and voice her. But it was fun because I did get to voice Su Yin in one of the episodes in Korra. It was a nice little revisit, and I got to play my own daughter for a second, so that was super fun. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just glad that she got a future, because I know that some characters kind of got a little bit, but they weren't necessarily as developed. And I'm glad that she got at least some description alongside everything else happening in Korra.
Yeah, and even to talk about this, sort of exiting the Avatar a little bit, but you still have a connection because you do a few conventions with Toph and signing, and you have personal 8x10s, and you do cameo and stuff
Yes.
like that. I read your website. So where can people find that? And also, there's other stuff with Toph out there. I just actually ordered a Pop Funko of Toph,
Oh, yeah.
which I might be sending to you to sign. I'm just saying publicly.
There you go. Yes, please do. I will sign anything. So yeah, I've just had time finally. Living in New York and hustling, there's not too much time for personal development. But I finally got time to build my website. You can find me on Instagram at Michaela Mosley, because my birth name is indeed Michaela Jill Murphy, not Jessie Flower, but there you have it. 6-year-old me was excited to have a fun name. And I went back to the birth name once I went to college. And I'm starting to grow on Twitter a little bit. And yeah, I'm just finishing up my website, michaelajillmurphy.com. And I have an ATLA section for fan mail requests, for conventions and events. And then to also hopefully start up a fan art page. I would love to document fan art that's sent to me or that people just have on their Instagram. Just to have a collection of not only Toph stuff, obviously I love Toph stuff, but just, cool, Zutara things and Taka things and Appa and Momo being cute. There's so much cool art out there. So I want to flesh that out and, maybe start some merch, that'd be fun. So there you go.
Yeah, and to go beyond Avatar, because you went to Yale and supposedly you're supposed to be a neurosurgeon, from my understanding. And that didn't happen. You got into theater. You couldn't leave the bug behind. And you did a lot of theater work in Yale, and then you also did some stuff, I think, in the UK and other places. And you also done some modeling, and you're getting into that. So what has that been like? Because that's a big branch out from voice acting and acting in general.
Yeah. So the doctor thing was a dream for a while, and I'm still proud of my math skills. I still love science. Excuse me. But then in freshman year, I literally tried to ignore theater. I joined an a cappella group. I did indeed, but I didn't do theater for the whole year. I was like, no, I'm focusing. I'm going to, take my math classes and do really well and start everything. And I just got really depressed, as I think, many of us share that sentiment. First year of college, a lot of stuff, a lot of new curveballs. So I was like, okay, I want to do a show, whatever. There's this freshman play where it's all freshmen who direct it and who are in it and all that stuff. And I did it, and I felt like I was renewed. Everything felt better again. And I was like, oh, well, okay, I should keep doing this. So I did that, added film along the way. When I got to New York, I love fashion. I've always loved fashion and dressing up and outfits and shopping and high heels. And yeah, although Toph would have a nightmare if she had to walk around in high heels. I know this. I usually try to get comfortable ones. I don't deal with cheap shoes that make your feet hurt. But yeah, I started getting into it, and I'm a little short. I'm 5'5", 5'4", depending on the day, it seems, and who's measuring me. But I knew that I couldn't do runway, and I wasn't 17 and Gigi Hadid or something. So I just started getting into smaller brands and just getting into photo shoots with photographers that I found through Instagram or online. And yeah, just started playing with angles and lighting and kind of building my portfolio. So now it is built. And obviously I am targeting petite modeling and fit modeling, accessories and beauty and shoes and that sort of thing, and print, obviously. And yeah, so it's slow. And I started to book some things. I did a campaign for a shoe company called Vintage Foundry, and then I did a shoot for Huel, that alternative food company. I don't know what to call it. And then quarantine started happening, and then COVID hit. So I was starting to book some things, and then we all got confined to the indoors. So now I'm adjusting. We'll see what the next step is, but it's different. But I love it. I love being in front of a camera, and I learned that everybody doesn't love being in front of a camera, and I thought everybody liked it. So I was like, oh, okay, well, great. I love it. So there you go.
Yeah, and to even talk about that, because I've had a lot of people in the indie comic world on, I've had other voice actors in Texas on, I've had several others, cosplayers on as well.
Hmm.
So, and a lot of people have been affected by COVID 19 in a variety of different ways. I've
Yeah,
interviewed people from, I think, 20 states just in the last 10 weeks. And
yeah.
so I have a snapshot of how things are looking. And I'm curious how COVID 19 has affected you. And you were kind of alluding to it.
Yeah, lots of things have changed. Well, first of all, I was auditioning like a mad person in New York. My boyfriend and I are both in theater, and we'd gotten, some new headshots printed, and we're looking to do at least an audition. Yeah, at least an audition every weekday. Um, Sometimes 3 or 4 in one day. We'd be like running all over the city, singing your 32 bar cut or doing a dance combo or combination of the two, whatever. And then, yeah, about 3, we were kind of in the thick of it. We were about our 4th week in of just kind of hitting the gas, and then we just started getting trickle down kind of notifications about this COVID-19 thing and coronavirus spreading. And there were only 2 cases in the U.S. at the time. Remember that time? And we were like, this might be a thing. And I think the biggest indicator, which is funny because I feel like a lot of people look to the theater when they don't even know that they do. Because Broadway was like the first thing that shut down, like really shut down. Like all the theaters were like, this Friday was the last performance. We're not doing anymore. All like the theaters across the board agreed on that. Um, and then you just kind of watched auditions like cancel and cancel and cancel and cancel, and you're like, oh no, oh no, oh no. So yeah, we came down to Virginia to stay with his parents for a little while, and ultimately we decided in the last month that we actually are going to move out of New York, and then go west. So we were planning on doing so next year at some point, and so we just figured it was probably smart financially, just career wise, to probably take that step now. Not that LA is completely up and running, by no means, but there is more space, literally, to kind of have a cast on a soundstage, right? As opposed to rehearsal spaces in New York. You can't even line up 100 people on a street in New York according to quarantine rules and keep them all spaced out for 6, let alone fill a theater, fill a rehearsal room. Like it seems like it's going to be a really long time before it's back up and running, and we don't have anything else to really do there in the time being. So, yep, that's where we're at right now.
And to jump off of that as well, I speak to a lot of people in the con world, and a bunch of people have opinions on it, and clearly the entertainment sector in America has been torpedoed, to put it
Yeah.
bluntly. And I think the biggest sign of that is San Diego Comic Con's been canceled. And
Yes.
that's a big deal because that's an indicator, which means New York is going to be canceled too, most likely. And so I'm just curious from a theater perspective, because we don't hear this, and in the 35 interviews, you're the 35th one that I've done so far, nobody's talked about the theater side of that and what you think is going to happen when you think it's going to get back up and running, and what changes are going to be made, because
Yeah.
clearly something has to change.
Yeah. The biggest thing, I've been just listening to a lot of casting directors, choreographers, producers, and for the most part, they say that early next year is kind of the earliest that things will really start moving again. And I think at that point, a lot of people are going to return to their old casts or use familiar faces because they want to make sure that they can rely on cast members and sell tickets. So honestly, it'll probably be 2 to 3 years before things are back to quote unquote normal. Things will be open. You can still go see things, but it won't be as fluid of a machine as it was, and it already was kind of a madhouse. So it'll definitely take a second. Um, And then I think as far as like film and TV goes, I think that'll be up a little faster. I think, there aren't going to be as many live audiences and they might have to do lower cast, numbers during a filming day, but it will start being normal, quote unquote, or feeling normal at least. I think earlier on. I don't know exactly timeline, but the union is talking about opening everything back up mid-June, as long as you're following protocol, which is way faster than any other theater I know of, at least. Right now, most theaters have canceled their tickets through the end of September, and they keep pushing that date back. So it's really hard to tell, but I definitely know that live performance is going to take a second.
And there's a whole issue with brown paper bag tickets that's going on with smaller theaters, and that's the only reason why I know that is because of wrestling. But we could table that because we are approaching that 30-minute cutoff time, and I definitely want to give you an opportunity to promote yourself. Where can people find you on the internet, website? What do you have to offer? Because we mentioned some of those personalization, 8x10s, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. How can people support you and follow you and spend money on you or with you or some form of that?
Yeah, yes. So if you're on Instagram, I definitely am relatively active. My username is Michaela Mostly. Michaela Murphy was taken, and Michaela Jill Murphy is really long, so Michaela Mostly is kind of fun and, I don't know, a little different. For those of you who aren't really Instagram people, I am on Cameo for personal videos. I had somebody ask me to ask somebody to be their best man, and then I have another proposal on the way that I'm going to do with Jack and Dante, and we're going to do like a group proposal. I've done lots of happy birthdays. So yes, there's lots of fun things to be done on Cameo, and I thoroughly enjoy them and try to like include lots of little lines and innuendo things. So if you're interested in that, that exists. And then there's my website. If you're just like bored and you want to be like, let's just spend some time online looking at things, www.michaelajillmurphy.com. Whole name. I have my middle name included because, for those of you who don't know, SAG-AFTRA, the union, once you put in a name, that's it. There can't be two of the same exact name. So that's why a lot of Sarah Jessica Parker, Helena Bonham Carter, they have their middle name included because there was already a Sarah Parker, so they have to include their name. And Emma Stone, she's Emily Stone, but there was already an Emily, so she had to be Emma. So just little things, so that's why I have to include my middle name. But yes, my website, you can geek out on the ATLA page. You can look through songs that I've written or done covers of. There's links to that. There's links to my reels. You can scroll through photos. Grand times all across the board. So yeah, you can find me. If you Google Michaela Jill Murphy or Jessie Flower, something will come up. So go for it.
Well, we're going to leave it at that. I'm just going to say this. Definitely go support Jessie, because right now, a bunch of actors, actresses, wrestlers, anybody in entertainment is getting slammed. And if you can get a personal video, or you want to pick up an 8x10 that Jessie sells on her website, please do so. If you can't, definitely follow on Instagram, support on Twitter, check out Facebook, check out the website, because those things are just as important as picking up something if you can afford it. Because any support right now changes algorithms and it helps out everybody in these sectors.
Truly. Yeah, honestly, like I understand if you like don't want an 8x10 of me with Toph on my shoulder or a video, but like just supporting through social media is super helpful. Engaging with like stories whenever I ask questions, or commenting on things. It seems so trivial, but a lot of agents and managers actually really look at engagement, and it matters because it's kind of a new world now. Yeah,
sharing is so helpful. Retweeting. Unless you don't have electricity or internet. And the people who watch these 35 of these at this point understand, they're probably sick of me saying it. If you don't have electricity or internet, that is the only excuse not to support somebody at this point. That is the only excuse. If you call me and you see me out on the street and say, hey, Andrew, I have no electricity or internet, I will buy you lunch if you can prove it. I'm throwing that out there to anybody. I will legitimately buy you lunch. But You have to prove it in that way. And that's the only excuse you have for not supporting somebody and retweeting. It's a click of a button, everybody. It's
Yeah,
a click of a button.
it is indeed. It is indeed.
And we're going to wrap up there, everybody. Thank you so much, Jessie, for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Hope you're staying safe. Hope everybody's staying safe and sane and healthy and just making it through one day at a time.